$3,100 in fake refunds, one felony charge. The gap is a ruined life. Today we are breaking down the exact timeline of the NAPA Refund King. You will see the body cam footage of the arrest. You will see the ledger of the theft. We are mapping the precise moment a retail loophole became a federal nightmare. 142 transactions. That is the number of times this employee hit the refund button. Most people see a refund as a simple customer service gesture. For this employee, it was a personal ATM. He didn't steal physical parts from the shelves. He didn't walk out with boxes of brake pads. He stayed behind the counter. He used the system against itself. He created ghost customers. He entered fake receipt numbers. He routed the cash back into his own pocket. The difference between a loyal employee and a felon is often just one click of a mouse. But how did he hide thousands of dollars in a store that tracks every single bolt? $12.4. That was the average amount of the first 10 fraudulent refunds. He started small. This is the testing the waters phase of retail fraud. If you steal $1,000 at once, the regional manager gets an automated alert. If you steal $12, it looks like a rounding error. It looks like a misplaced gasket or a returned oil filter. He spent 3 months perfecting the art of the micro refund. He learned exactly which items had the lowest scrutiny. He targeted low-cost consumables, things that people buy and lose, things that don't require a serial number for return. He was building a shadow ledger in his head. He thought he was invisible because the numbers were small. He didn't realize that digital footprints never disappear. They just accumulate. Every $12 refund was a breadcrumb leading straight to his workstation, $4,200 in missing inventory. This is where the A versus B comparison hits the balance sheet. On the screen, the inventory looked correct because the items were returned. In reality, the shelves were empty and the cash was gone. This is called phantom inventory. The computer thinks the party's back in the building. The physical shelf is empty. When a real customer comes in for that part, the employee has to explain why it's not there. He started lying to customers. He told them the shipment was delayed. He told them the warehouse messed up. He was spending more time covering his tracks than actually working. The stress began to show. He started making mistakes. He refunded the same part twice in 1 hour. That is a red flag that triggers a corporate audit. $250 per week. That was the bonus he was paying himself. He wasn't buying Lamborghinis. He was paying for gas and fast food. He was treating the NAPA register like a side hustle. But the cost of this side hustle was escalating. He had to create fake names. He had to forge signatures on return slips. He spent hours of his shift fabricating a fake customer base. He created a persona for Regular Joe, a fictional customer who constantly returned faulty spark plugs. He became a novelist of fraud. He was writing a story of failure for products that never existed. He thought he was outsmarting a corporate giant. He forgot that corporate giants have software designed specifically to find people exactly like him. $0, that is the amount of money he had left after the internal investigators arrived. The store manager noticed a pattern. Every time this specific employee was on the clock, the return rate spiked. It wasn't a coincidence. It was a correlation. The manager didn't call the police immediately. He called the loss prevention officer. They started a silent audit. For 2 weeks, they didn't say a word. They let him keep stealing. They wanted to see how far it went. They wanted to build a case that was bulletproof. They watched him on camera. They watched him enter a fake return. They watched him slide the cash into his pocket. They had the video. They had the digital log. They had the signature of a man who didn't exist. $1,200 in a single afternoon. This was his final mistake. He got greedy. He thought he had the system mastered. He decided to go for a big win. He processed a series of high-value returns for heavy-duty equipment. He thought he could mask it as a bulk return from a local garage. But the garage didn't exist. The receipt numbers were forged. The system flagged the transaction instantly. The regional manager received a notification on his phone in real time. The refund king had just tripped the alarm. He didn't know the police were already in the parking lot. He was still smiling at the customer who wasn't there. 6 minutes. That is how long it took for the handcuffs to click. The body cam footage captures the exact moment of realization. He is standing at the register. He thinks he is just finishing his shift. Then the manager walks in with 2 officers. The look on his face isn't confusion. It is defeat. He knew the math had finally caught up to him. He tried to argue. He tried to say he was fixing errors in the system. He claimed he was actually helping the store. The officers didn't care about his narrative. They cared about the $3,100 gap in the till. They cared about the 142 fraudulent entries, $10,000 in legal fees. That is the new math. He stole $3,100, but the cost of the crime is 10 times higher. He lost his job. He lost his professional reputation. He gained a felony record. This is the tragedy of the retail scam. The profit is temporary. The record is permanent. He traded a decade of future employment for a few months of fast food and gas money. He thought he was playing the company. In reality, the company was just waiting for him to prove the crime. $0.01. That is the margin of error in modern retail. Every cent is tracked. Every keystroke is logged. The NAPA Refund King thought he found a loophole. He didn't find a loophole. He found a trap. He spent his days pretending to be a helpful employee while systematically draining the store's resources. He forgot that the most dangerous place to steal from is the place that keeps the best records, $50,000. That is the estimated cost for the company to conduct a full forensic audit after a theft like this. It isn't just about the $3,100. It's about the man-hours. It's about the lawyers. It's about the lost trust. When an employee steals, the company doesn't just lose money. They lose the ability to trust their staff. They implement stricter rules. They add more cameras. They make the job harder for everyone else. One man's greed creates a prison for his coworkers. $0. That is what the Refund King has in his bank account now. He is paying back the restitution. He is working a minimum wage job with a felony on his background check. He is learning the hard way that free money always comes with a hidden interest rate. The interest rate on fraud is your freedom. $1, that is the value of a single honest day's work compared to a lifetime of looking over your shoulder. He chose the shortcut. The shortcut led him directly to a jail cell. He thought he was the smartest person in the room. He was actually the most predictable. Every fraudster thinks they are the exception. Every fraudster thinks the small amounts don't add up, but they always add up. The math is inevitable. $3,100, that was the number that started it all. A few hundred here, a few hundred there. It felt like a game. It felt like a victimless crime, but the victim was the business that provided his paycheck. The victim was the manager who trusted him with the keys. The victim was the honest employee who now has to undergo a daily bag search because of his actions. $0, that is the amount of mercy he received in court. The judge saw the 142 transactions as a pattern of obsession. This wasn't a mistake. This was a calculated attack on the business. He was sentenced to probation and heavy fines. He is now a cautionary tale for every retail worker in the country. $0, that is the cost of just doing your job. The refund king tried to shortcut his way to wealth. He ended up bankrupting his own future. He proved that the only way to win a game against a corporate audit is to not play the game at all. He thought he was the king of the refund. In the end, he was just another case file. $1 million, that is how much the company loses annually to this specific type of internal shrink. It is a war of attrition. The stores fight back with AI, they fight back with behavioral analytics, they track the velocity of refunds. If a person processes returns faster than a normal human, the system flags them. The NAPA Refund King was too fast, he was too efficient, his efficiency was his evidence. $0, that is the balance of his credibility. When he tried to explain the discrepancies, the evidence spoke louder than his words. The digital logs don't lie, the cameras don't forget. The signatures of the non-existent customers were the final nails in the coffin. He had built a city of lies and it collapsed under the weight of one single audit. $5. That is the cost of a cup of coffee. That is the kind of small win he was chasing. He risked everything for a lifestyle that wasn't even luxurious. He wasn't living in a mansion. He was just living slightly above his means. The risk-to-reward ratio was a disaster. He bet his entire life on a $3,100 gamble. He lost the bet. $0, that is the amount of time he spent thinking about the consequences before he hit the button for the 142nd time. He was in a trance of greed. He thought the pattern would continue forever. He thought the small amounts would hide him in the noise of the business. He forgot that in a world of big data, there is no such thing as noise. There is only signal. And his signal was screaming, theft, $20, that is the amount of a standard copay for a lawyer. He will be paying that and more for years. He will carry the label of felon into every interview. He will have to explain why he can't be trusted with a cash register. He will be the man who tried to scam a NAPA store and failed. $0, that is the amount of respect he has left in his community. The story leaked. The co-workers found out. The helpful guy was actually the thief. The betrayal is often worse than the theft. He didn't just steal money. He stole the trust of the people he saw every day. $3,100, the number that defines his failure. It is a small amount of money for a corporation. It is a massive amount of damage for a human being. The gap between a smart scam and a stupid crime is usually just a few dollars. He thought he was in the first category. The court decided he was in the second, $0. That is the only way to truly win at the refund game. You don't play. You don't test the system. You don't see if you can get away with it because the system is designed to catch you. The refund king is now a ghost in the system. His name is a red flag in every retail database in the state. $100, that is the cost of a good textbook on ethics. He would have been better off buying one than trying to rewrite the rules of commerce. He tried to be a king in a world of spreadsheets. The spreadsheets won. The numbers always win. $0, that is the current value of his side hustle. It is gone. The cash is spent. The job is lost. The freedom is limited. He is reminded that retail fraud is a race to the bottom. You might win the first few laps. You might even feel like you are leading. But the finish line is always a pair of handcuffs. $3,100 the total. The crime. The consequence. From a few small returns to a felony record. This is how a small mistake becomes a life sentence of regret. He thought he was invisible. He was actually on camera the entire time. $0. That is the amount of one's dignity left after being escorted out of a store in zip ties. The body cam doesn't capture the internal shame. It only captures the external failure. It captures the moment the refund king realized he was just a common thief. $1, that is the value of the truth. It is the only thing that doesn't get flagged by an audit. It is the only thing that doesn't require a fake receipt. The NAPA Refund King forgot that truth is the cheapest way to live. Lying is expensive. It costs you your job. It costs you your name. It costs you your future. $0. That is the final tally of his success. He spent months planning. He spent hours executing. He spent years regretting. The mismath is simple. The greed was high. The payoff was low. The consequence was absolute. $3,100. Remember that number. It is the price of a ruined life. It is the cost of a small scam. It is the evidence that no amount of retail fraud is worth the risk. The NAPA Refund King is no longer a king. He is a case file. He is a warning.